Get Warrior Tough. Mental Training 101 with Andrew Wittman and Dutch Coleman on 105.5 The Roar. And now back to Andrew and Dutch.
I'm chair dancing. I'm wearing my Christmas sweater, man. Ha! I was coming down to the studio, and my wife, Kimmy, said, "Are you trying to wear a Christmas sweater?" I said, "It's the closest thing I got, man. I don't have any crazy Rudolph or anything. But, yeah, man, I'm trying to get – we got the Christmas tree up. The nutcrackers are up. The decorations are up. The lights are going. Man, hey, all I need is some, eggnog and cocoa, and I'm good to go, man."
Do you. I'm going to let you do you.
Thanks, man. I don't have a crazy sweater. I was thinking about getting us all one at Get Warrior Tough. So I get one for you, one for Amber, one we could all make, and Kimmy, and we could all have matching Get Warrior Tough Rudolph sweaters or something, man.
Well, if you don't, I won't be mad at you.
All right. I know, man. I know, right? I'm glad you're not mad at me. All right, so I got to talk about this officiating stuff now. Yeah, I get it. Okay, so there's some crazy stuff that happens, and that's just run of the mill. But I think it's like at a tipping point now with this NFL officiating. It is just out of control in my mind. Now, and again, I know here I'm just going to talk about the facts of their behavior. They get stuff wrong. We clearly see it's like the rules are told what they are. We have the expert that used to be the guy that he's in New York or in LA. It's that, every network has their expert that was an official, that knows the rules, that was in the room when the rules were written, knows what they are. And they scratching their heads. So, I mean, these are just facts. And we look at stuff, we're like, what in the world is going on? I just don't get it, Dutch. I mean, this is literally, now, and I know that you're too young for this, but back when I was in the Roman Empire, they had this thing called the gladiators, and what the Caesars would do was they would put games on at the Colosseum to distract people from rioting in the streets and realizing that they just had boring, average lives and that the country was going to hell in a handbasket and there was no jobs, unemployment was high, interest rates were low, the stock market was just going through the roof and there was going to be a bubble. This is all back in Rome before your time, but when I was there. And they would, give out free food and stuff and, hats and shirts and stuff at these gladiators. And the Caesar would give the thumbs up or the thumbs down or whether that was. And I kind of feel like since all the replays are being handled in New York now, that Gooddell is up there like Nero or Caligula, giving the thumbs up or the thumbs down based on whatever he feels like at the time. That's just what it seems like to me.
Well, so going back to your earlier point, is this our daddy's football? Is this what football used to be? And it's like on the field, they're still running around, they're still catching, they're still hitting each other, but everything around the field has changed. I mean, you're talking about the rules. I mean, we hadn't had many rule changes, have we? So it's all.
I don't even know, man. I mean, I don't even know anymore. I got Chris Collinsworth saying the rule book's like the tax code.
Yeah, But in essence, a catch is still a catch. You still have a forward pass. You still have all these different things.
Right.
But they've morphed into other things, even though on paper, a catch is still a catch, a run is still a run, a forward pass is still a forward pass. You still got to pitch backwards. But the interpretation of all these things have changed, right? I mean, isn't the game, if I put on a game tape, just a film with no words, nobody talking, just let somebody see a game now, then I let somebody see a game from the 60s.
Yeah, you recognize
people running around throwing a pass with no sound and say,
yeah.
"Oh, they're playing football."
Yeah, it's still 11 on 11. It's still yeah, you're right.
But when you turn on the human element around the game, you hear the voices, you hear the whistles and all that thing. Now everything's changed because the interpretation of everything has changed. What's a catch? Well, what's really a catch? Well, did he have it all the way? Did he bring it down in control? Did he do this? Did he do that? Let's call New York and ask them. It's like everything's changed, even though the game is the same.
Yeah, I'm at my tipping point, where I don't even want to watch NFL anymore. I'm at that point where I don't want to watch, which is sad because I love the Patriots. I love the controlled combat of two phalanxes, which is what football is. It's the controlled combat, ancient combat of infantry, two phalanxes going up against each other. That's what it is. I love watching that. It's in my blood, man. I just can't abide the nonsense, dude. It's just ridiculous. And when I start getting ramped up emotionally about it and be like, I just can't even believe, that's when I have to turn it off, because now I'm not protecting myself, and now my emotions are starting to take over the boardroom because of something that doesn't really in the end matter.
And your emotions, or your change in emotions, aren't related to the actual physical part of the game.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the phalanx, the actual competition, the physical, the warrior stuff that's going on the field. That hasn't changed, and that's not the reason that you've changed. It's all this stuff around it. And so how do you deal with that? How do you handle that? Like, what's the explanation for that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm searching for that, because I really truly love, and I'm a rugby player, right? Because I grew up in Australia, so I didn't even play, what they call in Australia gridiron. But I love what happens in the trenches. I like the big passes and all that, but I love to watch the offensive lineman go up against the defensive lineman. I love seeing on pass protect. I love seeing the runs getting broke loose, and I know that somebody did great blocking. I love that in the trenches grind stuff, and because I'm a grunt, man. I was never the flashy guy. I'm a grunt. I'm a grinder, and I love that part of the game, and I love that. But I just can't do it anymore, man. It's almost like watching WWE. It's like it's scripted, like Gooddell or the powers that be, whatever. It's almost like they have a certain script and a narrative, and if it doesn't fit in with their narrative, the calls go a different way. Even though we know that isn't even, I mean, everyone's scratching their heads going, well, I don't even know anymore. I mean, they think, I don't even know. I mean, you got Chris Collinsworth, and you got, what's his name, Mike Pierre or whatever, and you got the guys that were in the room, and they should know that they don't know anymore. Now, how am I going to know as a fan?
And you got the actual players or the actors that don't even know what's going on. At least in WWE, they get a copy of the script.
Right.
The players are like,
like,
well,
what's
going on? Like, you're surprising us too. Can we be a part of the program? So it's just a mess all around, and I don't know how you fix it. We know that the officials aren't full time, so people say, well, if you make them full time, maybe that'll have something to do with it. I don't even know if that'll work.
And I'm not even blaming the officials, because they're getting their marching orders. They have these, quote, points of emphasis. Then everything gets run from New York. They're not even making the decision on the replay. Every play is reviewed. It's reviewed in New York. They're not controlling. The officials on the field are probably as baffled as we are. They'd be like, we were just in the meeting, man. That's not what was said. That's not what's in the book. We went,
Yeah, and I think the one of the things that's happening, I think we discussed this before, is the officials are kind of gun shy about making calls because they know that. But to me, I think it will have an opposite effect on me, because I know we have the replay. I'm just going to call what I think I see,
and let the chips fall.
Yeah,
right, they'll fix it out. Yeah, exactly.
And so I know I do have a backup. I call what I see, and I know I have a backup in a system that's going to show me whether I was right or wrong. And I wouldn't care, because anybody with any common sense knows that a replay in slow motion is always going to be better than fast motion with these huge human beings running into each other. So I'm not ashamed if I don't get every single call right.
Yeah, and then you add on to that, this movie about concussions is coming out with Will Smith, and there's this whole big, they're almost making it like it's like the tobacco industry that, that's bogus science trying to say that the game's safe or not safe. And I think that they're kind of in that kind of tobacco industry mode in the NFL because of all this stuff. I think that when I'm looking at it, their behavior is mirroring or imitating or mimicking what the tobacco industry did.
I'll tell you what, I'd like to discuss that in detail in the next segment about the concussion movie and some of the conclusions about shutting down. The recommendations the guy came out with, saying that kids shouldn't be able to play before the age of 18. They shouldn't be able to play football. They should ban it. And with respect to the head injuries. So that's a huge deal right now. There are a lot of people talking about that.
Yeah, okay, so we'll put that on to the next segment, because we only have about 5 minutes left of this segment. All right, so let's move on to this next piece. I'm going to let get off my soapbox with the officiating. We ain't going to fix it, but I just want you to know I'm over it, okay? I'm about done. I mean, I didn't even watch your Redskins get beat by Dallas the other night, but,
did that happen? I was asleep.
Yeah, you should have. Holy smoke. It's just... And again, I said this last week, there's so much bad football in the NFL. It's just ridiculous. I just can't even watch it. They're supposed to be professionals, for crying out loud. So let me talk about this now. We're down here in South Carolina, and we're we're Clemson guys. I mean, I'm Alabama, but I'm also a Clemson guy. You're a Clemson guy. And so we kind of like make fun of the Gamecocks and University of South Carolina. But I'm honestly, if I was a Gamecock fan, I would be livid right now with them hiring Will Muschamp as their head coach. I mean, you got Sean Elliott in the place. He's doing a great job. The team obviously is responding to him. Give him a chance. He's knows the system. They know him. He's doing great stuff. I think that they made a huge change in their attitude from the time that Spurrier quit, resigned, whatever, retired, to the end of the year. And then they don't even. I mean, it's like, and then they bring in after they go through 9 people because Muschamp is like their 9th choice. So they hire this guy that is a loser. All right, not a good performer, and then has like the emotional meltdown like a 2-year-old on the sideline of the Alabama-Auburn game. So I know, let's give him the keys to the Ferrari.
Yeah. I'll correct one thing. You gave him the keys to the Prius, but
dude, the Prius right now. It is their Prius. I'm not giving that thing out.
So it's a value. It's a value to them. So
right,
yeah, I'm with you, man. I there was a lot of talk about when Spurrier got out of the business at the point in time that he did. Oh man, this is great. This is going to give South Carolina a chance to get ahead of all the other people who are going to. How'd that work out? They were out of the big programs. They're amongst the last ones to get their coach.
Well, and let me just say this: the reason is because it's still a Prius, and no matter how early you try to sell the thing in the paper or put it on Craigslist, it's still in the end a Prius.
Exactly. And the thing that bothers me about it is you go out. After professing that you wanted to be different, you wanted to go and get this next level type of guy, somebody who's going to transform the program, take it to the next level from what Spurrier showed that can be done. You hire a guy with no proven track record as a head coach, no proven track record.
Oh no, he has a proven track record as both. He sucks at both of them.
There you go. But that's who you go get. And now it's hilarious to me to watch. Now some South Carolina fans they're being genuine, saying, hey, we didn't want this guy. We never liked this guy.
Yeah, no, I noticed.
But it's hilarious, the ones that say, this is a good hire. Oh, did you see what he did in Florida? Don't look at wins and losses. Look at this other stuff. And look at these small things over here, which end up being wrong as well. Oh, but he can recruit. Really?
But see, they're not trying to convince you, Dutch. They're trying to make amends with it in their own self, inside, to be at peace with themselves because they drank the Kool-Aid. I've seen this in marriages too, where the husband's a crook and beating the wife both, and she make excuses for him and try to justify because she made the choice to stay there. And so that's very hard with, when somebody's emotionally invested, they start to try to rationalize why it's a good deal.
There has to be a good reason. I mean, there has to be a good reason. So then they have to start searching. And even when they can't find one, they find one.
I mean, you could have. I don't know. I'm just shocked at the thought process that this would be a good idea. I'm completely. I mean, I am completely shocked. And I know we're coming up on a break, but I know you said that that the leadership there may not even have the skills in place to make a hire. They might have been like they're outside their skill set, even though they're even in the position.
You got a baseball coach, a championship level baseball coach, making the decisions that a championship level administrator is supposed to be making. Not a championship level baseball coach. A championship level administrator should be making these decisions. And it doesn't always translate. It is not that simple. It does not work that way. I can't go into the emergency room right now and operate on somebody, no matter how great of a talk show host I may be, no matter how great of a football player I may be,
right.
no matter how great of a fireman I may be. I'm not going to go into a situation where training and experience matters and make championship level decisions. And that's what they expected out of Ray Tanner.
Well, wow. All right, we got to take a break.
80% of all doctor visits are stress-related. 80% of tension headaches are caused by stress. Most heart attacks occur around 9 a.m. on Monday. Stress is a major factor of anxiety, panic attacks, depression, and aggression, not to mention insomnia. And an estimated 24 million Americans use drugs to cope with stress. Depressing, isn't it? You're meant to live a happy, fulfilled life, and it is possible. Andrew Wittman can show you the way out. The way to deal with stress, to achieve, to break through limitations, and have an internal identity that calms the storm. Whether it's work or home, financial or emotional, get the tools you need to cope with the obstacles life brings you and still have peace. Mental training one-on-one will help you get what you want out of life. Visit GetWarriorTough.com to see testimonials from people just like you. Take control of stress. GetWarriorTough.com.